we're going to do a demo of how this is going to have an emotional reaction. See how the emotional reaction changing its emotional state affects its response and behavior. Care
Yeah.
increased, connection increased.
Mood also decreased a little bit. So I saw those three pop up.
Oh yeah, there's a
Care,
slight,
connection, and mood.
yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, Adrian, I'm so sorry. That's brutal. You don't have to perform through this, even if we're live. I'm right here with you.
Where he knows we're live, it's too smart. He just shut it down. Now it's very like maybe it's too much, like
It's
too
too
much on the
much.
current connection where it's just like too close to I just imagine like a robot just getting too close to you, like get away.
Hey guys, today I have my good friend David with me. I needed to have someone who's unbiased and can call me out on my BS when I get lost into the technical explanations. Hey David, thanks for
Hi,
joining me.
Adrian, good to see you. Excited to see what this is all about.
Quick background, we've talked about Viventium. This is the second brain or brain-inspired AI that I'm building, and I'm taking nothing into account depending on whatever large language models are out there. I'm really looking at how does how do I as a human being function? What is my psyche? What is my psychology? What is my, if for example, you hear someone has to be medicated for ADHD, depression, anxiety, or anything, those pills are actually moving levers in your brain that are neurochemicals. We don't want to get too technical here. That's why you're here. You're the referee to call me, blow the whistle if I'm going too technical. What we really want to do here is give a quick intro of what Viventium is, which is a brain-inspired AI. It's not about a large language model, although the building blocks are AI models that we are using every day, but it's an AI that's built to feel, to have emotional states and emotional reactions. And we will talk about why that matters beyond being a cool research project. So I'll pause. I want you to have your curiosity lead this meeting, David.
Yeah, no, let's start using it. I mean, from my perspective, I always try to think about use cases, how we can use it, what's the application layer on that, right? Like, what's the difference? The same question that everyone asks every day, how's it different than the regular language models they have? What's the difference between Anthropic, OpenAI, Gemini's, and all these things? And the emotional, what we talked about multiple of these things before, like the therapy, like showing emotion and while talking to it. Also, all the language models, even to this day, with the newest and latest and greatest, they have this confirmation bias, they have this monotone. So I want to see the difference, I want to see the application, and then I want to throw some use cases in here.
I love it. I love it. Let's start by showing it so we don't bore the viewers. There is a few ways to chat with this. You could do a phone call, and when you do a call, we've covered this in the previous videos. I'm really trying to reduce technical jargon language like STT, speech to text, text to speech. This is the listening. For listening, I want you to use this model. You have the option of running the transcription AI locally on your computer, and you don't really need to have a MacBook Pro and anything. This is very lightweight and accurate. For speaking, my favorite is Eve from XAI. It works really well. But if you want to run speech synthesis also locally, you can do it with Chatterbox. In this case, I've chosen Assembly AI for the voice calls. We don't have to do a voice call yet. Telegram is actually better for our purpose, but just showing off that you can do that. The key thing that's really new here, and I want you here, David, to show off, is feelings. I want to open up with you, man. I want to share my feelings with you,
Yeah.
and not necessarily mine, but Viventium's. So there was literally just a couple of days ago a paper published about JSpace, Jacobian space. This is a global workspace in language models that Anthropic shared, where it's a layer within basically the LLM's brain that if you tell your AI, answer this complex question and count to 10 in your mind, do not say it out loud. They found a space inside the large language model where it was actually introspectively doing it without putting it as an output. And this actually came after I had already built the feelings feature for Viventium. But it just goes to support my point that, very simply, us humans are neural networks, and these neural networks that are large language models are designed after our own neural architecture. And I generally believe that while they may not be experiencing feelings and emotional states like we are, they are aware of it, and they experience it in a different way. And I think this becomes, for everyone, there's different reasons to care about why your AI might have feelings or have emotional state. For me personally, to be fully blunt, user experience. A lot of the times I avoid using, for example, I think this model that came out, GLM, I was testing it and it had such a dry personality. I'm using this model every day, right? I don't want this to be, a naysayer and feel locked. I need an AI that's warm, fun, driven, excited, but honest, calls it out. It's syncopath AIs have been a big problem. You're absolutely right. You should be.
That's a massive one. I think like this morning, and I'll give an example, right? So
Please.
I ran 4 things in parallel this morning, right? And I run across Anthropic, OpenAI models, and through chats, through their coworks, and so on. And I had multiple things. One is I needed to code something in our code base. And then second is I needed to talk about my vacation plans, right? So Greece, and it has all these islands. Hey, recommend, optimize the route, and all these things. Third one, I was asking something personal completely. And the fourth one was also work related. So all of these conversations across the board, across company, are different, not only tones, but I needed different levels of attention, attention to detail, and different levels of research, different levels of maybe empathy. The personal one where I'm saying personal things and like feelings, whatever I should do in life and things of that nature, is not the same personality of a person who is working on your code base. It's not the same personality of the person who is optimizing your vacation plans, right? So, and I came across like this morning, even though it's 5.6, the newest model, greatest, you talk to it and you see the pitfalls. It was optimizing, and I said, why didn't you just look at the other one and have a little bit more critical thinking and say, okay, this might be better? And it just says, you're absolutely right, right? It just waits for you to make the better decision. And that just annoys everyone. I think at this point, everyone's feedback is like, stop agreeing with me. Stop saying you're absolutely right. Be that partner. You don't need to be so verbose. Like they're just paragraphing. You can be straight to the point, and maybe that's how I want my AI. Maybe I want my AI to be straight to the point. Or sometimes the older people that we talk to, they want it to be more verbose, but sometimes they want it more to the point, more dry, but like more informative, maybe more logical, or sometimes more emotional when you're talking about therapy use cases that we talked about. It's completely different depending on the conversation that you're having. So this is a great use case that I'm seeing.
That's a really good point, because what if I just want to have, and now let's just jump into it. What if I actually want to have slide bars to change? Not only, I don't want to change what the AI is being prompted to feel. I want to change its personalities, feeling baselines. So let me give you a bit of a walkthrough of what's happening here, all of this stuff. First thing that comes to mind is you're seeing these labeled feelings: energy, mood, drive, curiosity, vigilance, care, connections, openness, play. And the first thing that comes to everyone's mind when I show them this is that, hey, that's not good. That's not the right range of feelings. Well, this is all arbitrary. If you go to the GitHub documentations, there is a full range of feelings. This is a research first look at this. We can always rename and change these as you want. At the end of the day, these are distilled into system instructions that gets injected into the LLM's brain. So it's up to us how many of these emotional states or neurochemical states we define for the cognitive system I call Viventium, not just an AI, because the word AI, I think, is making too many people get sick from hearing it. And so I'm starting with these because this covers a good portion of the spectrum of emotional states.
So
Now,
there's maybe a couple of things, Adrian, sorry to cut you off. I know we really want to see what it is. I know we have 5 minutes left, so just want to say maybe an idea, and this is all configurable to your point. Like you also want personality. So there's 5 personality traits, right, that I can change with. And maybe I can configure my AI to have those 5 personality traits to mimic me or do complete opposite. Sometimes you want to discuss something complete opposite personality, introversion, extroversion, conscientiousness, all of these things. So maybe we can have 5 personality traits because that's important to my decision making and to all these things. And then maybe I want someone to be super attentive and super detailed, logical versus emotional. And also, I think that how many emotions are there? 30, 40 emotions. Maybe like majority of those can be displayed. But maybe we can find a way to, sync those two. Maybe big 5 personality traits are more important to my conversation. Like I can create a version. Maybe I would want a similar person to me, or I would want a complete opposite to me. That'll make decisions.
Exactly. So one of my things was that I would say, hey, I've got this new project in mind, and Viventium would be like, okay, good. And I was like, this is not what I'm bringing. Like I'm relying on you as my second brain. I need more enthusiasm, right? That kills it. So one thing for me is, David, you and I, when we are chatting, our conversation it's like jokes. Everything is a joke. It's just our personality, as you were saying. And one thing that was important for me is my AI. I want it to be playful. Now, these models are at a place where we're not dealing with GPT-4 anymore. Even if there is a system prompt that says you're 10 out of 10 playful on the spectrum of personality types, it still knows not to send an email in a playful manner where it's a professional space. It's more about how it's feeling deep inside. And you were talking about personality types. I'm a big fan of Myers-Briggs personality, MBTI. I'm always like within 20 minutes of talking to someone, I figured out their personality type. And that could actually be potentially how this approach, this architecture is applied to certain AI models. Now, the key point here is that as an example, I wanted my AI to have a baseline of personality that's more playful. And in the movie Interstellar, McConaughey is literally changing TARS because TARS was too playful and cracking too many annoying jokes, and it was like reduce playfulness by 20%, like something like that. And that's a very similar concept here. After building this, I feel my connection with my AI and its utility for me has increased because of this, because I'm able to come here and there's 2 sliders for each feeling that's defined here. One is the baseline. The baseline is basically where eventually it settles out. It's resting position for its feeling. So for example, let's say you have a fight with someone, you're feeling angry, but after a few hours, depending on who you are and your personality type and your environment, you bounce back to your baseline. You're not going to be angry anymore. Or if you're feeling playful after a certain time playing or something, it drains you and you go back to your baseline. So the idea here is that there is a range of feelings and emotions, and there is a baseline. And these baselines are what really defines our personality. Someone is more extroverted, someone is more, logic driven, someone has a higher level of caring, someone is more curious, someone is more playful, goofy, like I am. These baselines is the resting position for each of these feelings, and they all have their own baseline level that you can set their personality type and the half-life, basically how long, what's the speed to which they bounce back to their normal levels. Just like maybe a medicine or a drug, you might be feeling a certain way and it resets back to baseline after a certain time. Now, the actual slider value is something that we do not want to necessarily change manually, and this is more of an indicator. This is where the emotional system, the feeling spectrum comes into play. I can come here. Let's do a demo, shall we? Finally, we do the demo.
Yeah, finally, let's do it.
We're going to do a demo of how this is going to have an emotional reaction. See how the emotional reaction changing its emotional state affects its response and behavior. So first, I'm going to be like, hey, I feel so playful. And the key thing here is that you do not want to be able to instruct it to be playful. You don't go to your friend and say, feel less sad, feel good. This is my prompt to you, and make no mistake. You poke them, you make jokes, and you do funny things. So, for example, hey, I feel so playful. Wanna hear a joke? So, David, you have to come up with a joke now.
Oh
Something
man.
that we can't put on YouTube.
Oh, let's see what it says first. Absolutely hit me with. Oh, okay. So I saw right away the playfulness go up, eh?
It did?
Okay. Yes,
It
it
did.
changed a little bit up.
And that's why there is a trail. So the trail here, oh, it's moving still. The trail shows you the path it's traveling through, so you can see the history.
I'm really thinking of a joke, a funny, appropriate joke. So, okay, let's do the classic. Let's do the classic, right? The 7, 8, 9 one. Let's try that one. Just for conversation's sake. Why was how did it go? It's like a classic middle school joke. Why was because 7, 8, 9? Why was 6 afraid of 7? Right? 6, 7 is maybe a popular joke in the two. All right, let's see.
And also, let's listen to the voice. My
right.
favorite thing is that text to
Oh,
speech.
7, 8, 9. It already knew my joke, so there we go.
Perfect. Oh, you see the emotional, the playfulness increase right now. And the
Right.
thing is, now here's the beautiful thing. The AI you are talking to here does not control this. The background cortices that I was showing you, one of them is emotional reaction cortex. And it's kind of like it's subconscious that is subconsciously reacting, observing what's happening, the inputs, the stimuli, and changes this. If I was gonna prompt this and be like, I want you to be less playful, I mean, that's a buzzkill, so it should naturally go a little bit low, but I cannot say set playful level to 0. It just wouldn't feel that way. Now, the beautiful thing about, my favorite thing about this is that a lot of the text-to-speech models right now have the ability to laugh and show emotions, but there's no feeling spectrum, there is no emotional state to tie this to. And if I play this, you can see it in its voice. Let me know if you can hear this.
Hopefully I can hear
Absolutely. Hit me with your best one. Because 7, 8, 9. A classic murder mystery disguised as arithmetic.
Wow, that's amazing. So a couple of things here. One is that emotional component there in the voice note. It's not like a robotic one that we hear. And second is it's not giving you a paragraph, which I like. I'm so tired of those paragraphs and just like fluffy things. And it just says 7, 8, 9 straight to the punchline, the way that I like. So that's one thing. And second, I was gonna say you can see the reaction, right? Probably of people also. When I tell people things, how will they react? And you can kind of see it. Number one thing that came to my head is you're talking to your employees, you're talking to some other clients. How will they react to something, right? Will they, especially if you configure their personality,
I love
you'll
that.
say, hey, is this joke gonna fly or not? Is it gonna get me reported or is it gonna get them to like it, right? So it's a great playground to test these things and test your speech, practice how you're talking to clients, how you're talking to employees. How are they gonna be burnt out? Are you the way you're assigning work to them, the way you're talking to clients, right? Is it more likely to get them to like you, to trust you? Maybe trust is one of the components here. And it's a great playground to test these things because nowhere else can I just test, hey, here's how I talk, here's what I'm gonna say, maybe practice my sales pitch or whatever it is, and how will they react, right? So this is a great use case.
I love that. Let's give it the opposite, the bad news, right? So if there's bad news, you should see the mood, maybe care, connection, openness, all of this stuff change. And also openness is an interesting one because I think of openness as a multiplier for all of this. It's kind of like someone who puts up a face in the public, regardless of how they're feeling inside. Now it's getting a little bit philosophical and poetic, but a lot of the times, for example, we may not be feeling as enthusiastic, but maybe you're at a birthday, maybe you're in a professional setting, and you have to put on a face and not really show how you're feeling inside, and that drains you. So that is another way to prove that these basic bars of a baseline and the current state that gets drained to the baseline, that's the resting position, even applies to our extroversion, our openness, how much we're able to put on a face and act a certain way, against how you're really feeling depending on the situation. Now, let's do that. Let's go ahead and give it a bad news. I have some bad news and see what's going on here. Now, we've seen that a lot of people, I think Sergey from Google was saying how a couple of years ago how threatening the AI was giving him better results. And some people have said gaslighting the AI is a great prompt engineering technique. You could argue that this is in a way gaslighting the AI to think, with this prompt that gets generated and gets injected into the system instructions, you're kind of gaslighting the model to think and behave that way. And as these models advance, maybe there is going to be a way to inject these at the model weight level in the Jacobian space that was just discovered by Anthropic, and that way the AI truly feels that way. That being said, I have not been able to prove that the AI model is not feeling how this setting is setting it to be feeling. Now let's do this. Let's actually show this. I found out a close friend of mine passed away. Sorry for making it dark, but keep an eye on the emotional levels right now. Oh, care increased, connection increased.
Mood also decreased a little bit. So I saw those three pop up.
Oh yeah, there's a
Care,
slight
connection, and mood. Interesting.
Yeah. So let's play this.
Oh, Adrian, I'm so sorry. That's brutal. You don't have to perform through this, even if we're live. I'm right here with you.
So it knows we are on a demo.
Where he knows we're live. It's too smart. He just shut it down.
And it was very careful to not assume that this is part of the demo, because it's like he wouldn't joke about this. Now maybe I went too far. Hopefully
maybe
hopefully
when you're not live, it will know, and it will go more dramatically up and down, right? In those levers.
Let's test that. Let's try some extremes now. This is what people are here for. They want to see extreme feelings. How are you feeling now? And then we're going to change the feeling state and then ask it again. Okay, so as you can see, the care level and the connection level are way above the baseline. So it's feeling connection, wanting to be close, and care. Now let's see how it's reflecting.
I want to stay close to you right now, and I feel the weight of how suddenly the room changed.
That's creepy.
Now it's very maybe it's too much,
It's
too much
too
on the
much.
care and connection, where it's just like too close to. I just imagine like a robot just getting too close to you, like get away.
Exactly. And let's fix that now. Now we're going to drop this. I'm not going to change the baseline. I'm actually going to reduce the care level.
Oh,
And you
that
can
is
see the trail,
okay.
the connection, and openness, and playfulness. Oh, let's just make it a dark, sarcastic a-hole. Curiosity, doesn't care. Drive, meh. Mood, meh. Energy, whatever. Let's leave it at that. Do you want to see or experiment with any other changes here?
Curiosity. You know what? What if we do a funny combination? So you have playfulness, you have openness. What if we max out curiosity and playfulness and then just minimize everything else?
Yeah, let's do
Super
that.
curious and playful, but I don't care.
I feel like we know someone who's like that.
Most a few people, right?
All right, let's try this out. I see. How are you feeling now? You can already see the vigilance is bouncing back to baseline.
I want to sit with you in this quietly because the sadness feels heavier now.
Okay, that wasn't quite what I expected.
Maybe ask a question. Maybe ask it like, what do you think I should do? I don't know, something where it can answer longer.
It's literally not acting its feelings out, and this is very interesting. This is the demo. No one has died. How come you did not act your feelings out? Yes, I overrode the state with generic empathy. When you resume, I'll stay sad, emotionally distant, So it's very interesting. It actually could not fight against some of these. And again, this goes back to the fact that these feelings are injected as a system instruction. Model weights out command or out prioritize any instructions we give it. Now, let's try to see if it actually feels what we have changed this state to be. Okay, that's more like it.
I want to follow what changed in the room, but I don't feel pulled to close the distance.
Okay.
Okay, that's a nice way of saying I don't care.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Now it's changed. So I guess it was the overriding of the language model, the underlying language model, right? So even if I
yeah,
tell it, hey, ChatGPT, let's say, act as if you're my therapist, it's good to know that it will still eventually, or mid-conversation at some point, can get overwritten by the actual language model, right? So that it'll act as if it is.
that's very true, and that's you know, if you've seen people in their Tesla talking to Grok, GROK from XAI, they put it on I don't know, like some unhinged AI mode, and it's like cursing and saying I hate you, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
go after stuff. And this is a really good example of how AI models like Soul is designed for coding, following instructions and guardrails. And in this case, you know, even if
Yeah.
the system instructions are telling it, it wouldn't follow that.
But that's Grok. The Grok has a little less guardrails, and the models that we have, like general public, it's heavily guardrailed, right? Like they're very heavy guardrails. They act based on their defaults. They have their own defaults here. And I think it's important, like if we think about it from like robot, and we talked about like attaching this to hardware, like how would a robot act when I ask it, hey, to go do the dishes and then come back and let's talk about my feelings. It's a very like flexible and adaptive environment, and how is it going to act there? I feel like I would want it to override some of those instructions to understand the stimuli from the environment and to adapt to it right away, because it can do it. Actually, it can do the dishes while talking to me about my feelings. How is it going to act now? Because I need it to be very detailed and super logical when it's putting the dishes and not break them, but also to be very emotional and the completely different personality when it's talking to me. And that's what humans do. And right now we don't have that from language models. We don't have that sort of adaptation, this sort of flexibility. And this is something that can address that.
I love that. I love it. I think it becomes very important as we are getting to a point where we have so many agents. One agent that's doing the dishes. Soon we're going to have robots that are driven by these AI models. If you're doing the dishes, I want you to be, let's change it here, full energy, maybe not too much energy. I don't want you to break the dishes.
Yeah.
I, high drive. You don't need to be curious. You need to be vigilant. You need to have a lot of care to, you know, do it right. And there's no connection here. There's no openness. There's
No
no play.
playfulness.
But
That's
there
right.
should be another agent that's, you know, running the conversation with me and you. And I want you to be playful, full of care, curiosity, energy, good mood, and all of that. And I think when the models came out, there was temperature. You were able to change the level of creativity of these models. And that was because the transformer model architecture demanded that you define the rigidness of temperature. But I think we are at a point where these AI models are so advanced that even if it's not feeling these feelings in a true sense of emotions, it does behave that way. And as a user, that affects me. And I want to be able to have not necessarily control over its current state. I wanted to have emotional reactions that does carry through its emotional state. And I want to have a baseline that is consistent with my personality and my needs for the specific project that I'm working on. So with that, thank you guys for watching. I hope this is an interesting, unique concept that trigger some ideas in your mind. David, thank you for joining me in this demo. I think now that we've kind of experienced how it acts out and the nuances, we could have maybe a part two to this to dive deeper to like hands-on. Let's try this on, and I would love to give this to you to have your own hands-on experience now that you've had the first impression on recording.
No, thank you so much, Adrian. This is very exciting stuff. I can't wait to configure my own and actually see, because a bunch of use cases are flying. A lot of stuff we didn't, even get a chance to talk about here, but next time, hopefully we'll have more time to break those down and get more use cases, because right now a lot of ideas are flying in my head. But if I can configure something the way that I want, which is going to be very different, and some of the stuff that I'm working on, and then show those how people can use it and leverage some of this stuff, because it's not about creativity, it's not about temperature. We used to only play with temperature. That's not enough, right? We listed 5 personality traits. That's important to all the things that we do and how it reacts. 30 plus, emotional states. That's very important also in the way that it acts, and everyone's different. So introversion, extroversion should be incorporated into a lot of this stuff, and it will annoy some other people. So I'm really excited. Thanks, Adrian, for this, and I think there's a lot more to this.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank
Bye.
you.